This is part 2 of our discussion of chapter 2. I apologize for the interruption. We left off with study break number 4. A document file containing XBRL tags is a extranet document, B, intranet document, C, instance document, or D, URL. Is it A, B, C, or D? And the answer is C, instance document. The term electronic business or e-business refers to conducting business with computers and data communications. Most companies perform e-business over the internet, but businesses can also use virtual private networks, or VPN, or proprietary data transmission lines. Some general categories of electronic business are 1, e-accounting, retail sales, e-payments and e-wallets, electronic data interchange, and a variety of cloud computing services. Now, these categories will be explained separately in the next few slides. So what is e-accounting? The term e-accounting means performing accounting functions on the internet. This includes normal accounting tasks such as processing payroll or accounts receivable data, as well as preparing financial reports or completing income tax returns using an online software. Often the web server is not even in the same country as a user, but in Ireland or India instead of the United States or Canada. At the personal level, e-accounting allows users to perform familiar accounting tasks such as preparing budgets or writing reports that others can see and modify as they desire. The World Wide Web offers business the opportunity to create virtual stores or shopping cart applications. They allow businesses to sell their merchandise directly to customers. Now, at the retail level, it is clear that such websites are really automated accounting information systems that allow customers to create their own order forms, to create their own shipping forms and payment documents. The number of online shoppers has increased steadily over the past decade, and especially now due to the pandemic. Internet retail sales also introduce special issues. One problem is that customers usually cannot determine whether a retail website is legitimate. There are so many fraudulent activity over the internet, so consumers have to be extremely careful. Consumers must usually rely on emails to voice their complaints rather than speaking to someone in person. And returns are sometimes problematic. A third problem is that online stores frequently rely on suppliers rather than their own shelves for merchandise to satisfy orders, creating the potential for stock out and backorder problems. Finally, a growing e-commerce problem is click fraud. Now, many businesses are willing to sign pay-per-click contracts in which they pay a fee every time a customer clicks on a link to its website from another site, such as a search engine site. Now, click fraud occurs when dishonest managers or Even a company's own competitors inflate the number of clicks on an advertising link and therefore bill or cost the company for more referrals than actually occurred. However, there are privacy concerns too. Internet sales also provide retailers with a wealth of data about their customers, raising issues about privacy. For example, you might be concerned about the fact that your web purchase also means that a retailer now has your email address, which it can be, be used to send additional annoying emails, or sometimes they'll sell your information to other companies. And not only that, they have access to your card information, your credit card information. They also have sensitive information about your purchase pattern. For example, prescription drugs. Have you ever gone on social media and it's one, for instance, that comes to mind is Facebook. You're on Facebook and these ads pop up. And these ads are usually something that you may have searched or even talked about, and instantly they're now on your Facebook page. However, there are some advantages of virtual stores. Here you see a list of them. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just a few. One is web pages are much cheaper to create than creating and mailing catalogs. Distribution is global, and sales can occur around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Customers can search for specific products or services electronically, either within a particular website or as a hit from another site. Customers create their own sale orders online. The sales and customer relations personnel required for virtual stores is minimal, so it reduces labor costs per dollar of sales. And most customers pay for the merchandise they order over the internet with a credit card, requiring vendors to use third-party affiliates to authenticate your credit card numbers. And some merchants and auction sites solve these problems with electronic payments, or what we call e-payments. They said that is faster, it's easier, and it's safer for both the customer and the sellers to handle online transaction. The e-payment service act as a trusted intermediary because it collects payment from a buyer and it pays that amount to the seller. Another internet payment option is an e-wallet. E-wallets are software applications that store a consumer's personal information, including their credit card numbers, their email addresses, and shipping information. There are so many internet payment options out there. You have your Apple Pay, your PayPal, Venmo, Zelle. There's just so many out there. But again, consumers have to be extremely careful. Here's the homepage for pay.gov. It is an e-payment system supported by the US government. You may have heard the term virtual currency. Imagine an international currency that eliminates the need to exchange one type of money for another, involves no extra transaction fees, escapes government scrutiny, and is widely accepted on the internet. This is the idea behind a virtual currency, which is a medium of exchange that operates beyond the restrictions of a particular country or its monetary policies. An example that you may have heard of is called, it's Bitcoin. Bitcoin allows you to set up an e-wallet at their website, www.bitcoin.com. Now, retailers have several reasons why they might accept a virtual currency when selling merchandise online. One is that they have the ability to do more business. There's an ease with each transaction when it takes place electronically. There's no need for a credit card middleman or a check clearinghouse. Consumers' wallet cannot be frozen, and there's no transaction fees charged to the retailer. However, you know that there are risks. Virtual currencies also operate beyond the realm of any central bank. This exposes businesses to risk, including potential devaluation of the currency in response to market forces, the fact that transactions are not independently auditable and as they would be at a bank, the observation that all 7 earlier virtual currencies have failed. And one of the other risks is that the unwillingness of others to accept it. While there has been tremendous growth in retail e-commerce, it is stunted by business-to-business e-commerce. For example, businesses buying and selling goods and services to each other over the internet. Buying materials online shortens the time from purchase to delivery and also allows businesses to shop from vendors all over the world. Like retail consumers, corporate purchasing agents using business-to-business e-commerce tools can select items from online catalogs, confirm purchases, track shipments, and pay bills electronically. Another feature of business-to-business e-commerce is that it reduces the cost of processing. And it provides a wider availability of real-time data that allows managers to view up-to-the-minute information. According to a recent survey, over 80% of companies continue to use at least some manual documents. For example, purchase orders, invoices, payment remittance forms, credit memos, bills of lading, or shipping notices. Electronic data interchange, or EDI, enables companies to save money by transmitting the information contained in such documents electronically. An advantage of EDI compared to internet e-commerce is that many business documents are simply faxed over the telephone lines, avoiding computers completely. Another advantage is that many EDI documents include handwritten signatures, providing assurance of their authenticity. Like I stated earlier, another advantage is that many EDI documents include handwritten signatures, and it provides the consumer that the signature is authentic. A third advantage is that EDI includes the exchange of graphic and photographic documents, media that can be scanned and captured electronically. As explained in Chapter 1, cloud computing refers to purchasing services from vendors over the internet. The term derives its name from the cloud-like symbol, often used to depict the internet in networking diagrams. Some examples of service offered by cloud computing are processing services. These are companies that access specialized software. For example, tax preparation applications. These are softwares that, of course, consumers can purchase over the internet. Examples of cloud vendors include Amazon.com, which is data storage. You have Oracle and Intuit, but there's so many cloud vendors out there. Storage and backup services. One of the most important types of cloud computing is creating and maintaining copies of critical data and files for both the individual and the organizations. Some of these vendors include Amazon, Carbonite, Dropbox, SkyDrive. Now, most of these vendors provide low cost, and some of them even provide, free service. Educational services, you probably already use such web service, such as the search engine Google. I know many of us use Google to search the internet, or even Bing to answer questions of interest. Professional accountants do the same thing. Using these same search engines, they are able to answer questions regarding asset classification, depreciation, and tax questions. In addition, the internet provides a host of specialized educational service. One of those categories is actually the software tutorials. Cloud computing offers many advantages to companies, which explains why so many organizations now contract with cloud vendors. Excuse me. Here are some of the advantages in this table. One that we're looking at is cost saving. The contracting company avoids the hardware, software, and training costs involved in performing the service in-house, and pays only for the services actually consumed. Another advantage, of course, is speed. In a tax preparation application, all communications take place electronically, and thereby it's performed instantaneously. These are just some of the advantages of cloud computing. The most important advantage of the internet and the World Wide Web accessibility is also its greatest weakness, which is vulnerability. This means that someone who poses as an authorized user may be able to access your email, your web page, or even computer files. Identity theft happens a lot. Unfortunately, I was a victim of identity theft, not once, but twice. Identity theft refers to crimes in which someone uses another person's personal identification. They use a credit card, a social security card, or information that you have posted on the internet. It involves fraud, of course, or deception. Identity theft involves whereas the individual may even apply for a loan using all your personal information. So we as consumers, we have to be extremely careful. A related issue is personal privacy. Businesses need to protect the payroll data they send to service providers electronically. Most websites accessed by online users collect personal information. What they collect and how they use it are dictated by their privacy policies. Because businesses vary widely in the amount of privacy protection for their customers, it is important to read the company's policy statement very carefully. Here are some steps that you can take to safeguard your personal data from identity theft. One is only give personal information such as security numbers and dates of birth to those absolutely needing it. Mail checks, credit applications, and similar materials directly in a locked outgoing mailbox, not in your front yard mailbox with a red steal me flag on their side. But of course, we know that some of these companies, for example, the credit reporting services, they've been hacked. So a lot of your information they have. So these hackers have access to our information. But here, again, these are just some steps that you can take to safeguard your personal data from identity theft. Security policies and procedures safeguard an organization's electronic resources and limit their access to authorized users. For this reason, information security has been a high-ranking technology in each of the 5 years of the ACIPA survey. Of special importance to the accounting information system is access security. For example, restricting access to bona fide users. The 3 types of authentication are based on what you have, what you know, and who you are. What you have may be a plastic card that provides your physical access to information or restricted area. Some example is your ATM card or your debit card or employee's card that give you access to certain areas in your building. A current internet problem is the increasing amount of spams. Those annoying, unsolicited email messages that clog your email box. I'm pretty sure some of you get a lot of spam emails. Another is phishing. Phishing means tricking users and providing valuable information such as your social security card number, your debit card PIN number, password. And they request this information on bogus websites. So you have to be extremely careful about opening emails and providing information. Now, Firewall guards against authorized access to sensitive file information from external internet users. On network systems, firewalls are often standalone devices with built-in protective software. On mainframe or host systems, firewalls are usually software. There are 2 primary methods of firewall protection, and they are inclusion or by exclusion. Now, when firewall protect internal systems by inclusion, the software examines packets of incoming messages and limits entry to authorized included users. To do this, the software maintains an access control list of bona fide IP addresses that network administrators create for this purpose. If the software does not recognize the IP address of an external user, it refuses that user access to the files he or she requested. When firewalls protect internal system by exclusion, the software compares the incoming packet IP address to a list of known threat addresses, and it rejects messages from those sources, but will accept all others. Now, firewalls are useful internet security controls, but like most security features, they're not foolproof. They are not foolproof. One problem is that they cannot protect against denial of service attacks, which overwhelm system resources with a volume of service requests. Another problem is spoofing. Spoofing is just masquerading as an authorized user with a recognizable IP address. Here's an example or an illustration of how a firewall acts as a barrier between an authorized external user and organizational computers and files. Firewalls accept message from a bona fide user, but rejects message from the authorized user. Whereas firewalls simply reject unauthorized users from access, intrusion detection systems, or IDS, they create records of such events. We have two categories of IDS. IDS again stands for Intrusion Detection Systems. We have what we call passive IDS, and then there's reactive IDS. Now, passive IDS create logs of potential intrusions and alert network administrators to them either via console messages, alarms, or beepers. Reactive IDS have the ability to detect potential intrusions dynamically by examining traffic flows, log off potentially malicious users, and even reprogram a firewall to block further messages from the suspected source. Perhaps the most important advantage of IDS is its ability to both prevent unauthorized accesses to sensitive information and to alert system administrators to potential violations. This may also increase the perceived risk of discovery, and that is to would-be hackers. Value-added networks, or VANs. What are they? They are private point-to-point communication channels that large organizations create for themselves, usually for security reasons. When it first implements a VAN, the business assigns each user to a unique account code that simultaneously identifies the external entity and authenticates the organization's subsequent electronic transactions. Here are three ways to create a secure network. One way is to start with a blank slate and create everything from scratch. They say that this approach was first used by the military and then later used by Walmart. Another way is to secure dedicated transmission lines from conventional long-distance carriers such as AT&T. This approach, they said, were used by IGT's Megabug systems. And a third way is to create a virtual private network, a VPN, on the internet. VPN mimics a VAN in many of its security features, but enjoys the benefit of transmitting messages cheaply over existing internet connections. A VPN creates secure data transmissions by, one, using tunneling security protocols embedded in the message frame sent to and received by the organization. Another way is encrypting all transmitted data. And three, are authenticating the remote computer and perhaps also the individual sender as well before permitting further data transmissions. Here is just another example of the virtual private network. We'll be discussing Proxy Server. Now, given the large amount of information now available on the web, some organizations seek to limit the number of sites that employees can access. For example, to ensure the employees do not use web access privileges for frivolous or counterproductive purposes. Some organizations may restrict their employees to going on the internet, using Facebook, or any social media. I know the school also does the same thing. A proxy server is a network server and related software that creates a transparent gateway to and from the internet and controls web access. One advantage of using a proxy server is the ability to funnel all incoming and outgoing internet requests through a single server. This can make web access more efficient because the proxy server is specifically designed to handle requests for internet information. A second advantage is the proxy server's ability to examine all incoming requests for information and test them for their authenticity. A third advantage is that a proxy server can limit employee internet access to approved websites. Also, this enables an organization or a company to deny employees access to gambling, pornography, or game playing websites that are unlikely to have a productive benefits, of course. And again, like I stated earlier, they may prevent them from going to their social media accounts. A fourth advantage is the ability to limit the information that is stored on the proxy server to information that the company can afford to lose. If the server fails or is compromised by hackers, the organization is only marginally inconvenienced because its main server remain functional. To recover, the company can simply restart the system and they'll be able to have the server to back up all the data. Another advantage of the proxy server is the ability to store, and you've heard the term cache. It's cache, you can actually clear your cache. The web page of preferred vendors. The user also has that ability to also clear their cache. Next, we'll discuss data encryption. To safeguard transmitted data, businesses often use data encryption techniques that transform plain text messages into unintelligible ciphertext ones. The receiving station then decodes the encrypted messages back into the plain text for use. The method that computers use to transform plain text into ciphertext is called the encryption key. This is typically a mathematical function that depends on a large prime number. The data encryption standard, or the DES system, used by the US government to encode documents employs such a system. The data encryption standard, the DES system, used by the US government to encode documents employs such a system. DES uses a number with a 56 binary digits to encode information, a value equal to approximately 72 quadrillion. And the next slide, you'll see a copy or an illustration of the simple data encryption. Now, this data encryption method is here, as you can see, and it's using a single cryptographic key, and it's used to be shared by the two communicating parties, and it's called secret key cryptography. I'm sorry. Now, this system derives its name from the fact that its users must keep the key secret and not share the key with other parties. Again, the secret cryptography, users must keep the key secret and not share the key with other parties. Now, many businesses want proof that the accounting documents they transmit or receive over the internet is actually authentic. Examples include purchase orders, bids for contracts, and acceptance letters. To authenticate such documents, a company can transmit a complete document in plain text and then also include a portion of that same message or some other standard text in an encrypted format, which we call digital signature. The National Institute of Standards and Technology adopted Federal Information Processing Standard 186 in 1994. The DSS, or what we call the Digital Signature Standard. Another authentication technique is a digital certificate. And that's authenticating document issued by an independent third party called a certificate authority. You've probably heard of VeriSign. Now, the certificates themselves are signed documents with the sender's name and public key information. The PGP digital timestamping service and VeriSigns are two of several digital timestamping services that attach digital timestamps to documents either for a small fee or for free. Some of them do offer free services. In a typical application, the user sends the document to the service's email address along with the internet address of the final recipient. When the service receives the document, it performs its timestamping task and then forwards the documents as required. And we'll get into a study break. Study break number 5. Which of these statements is correct? A VPN is a type of VAN. B, DES stands for Data Entry System. C, an IDS is the same as a firewall. Or D, all of these statements are correct. So which is it? A, B, C, or D? And the answer is A. A VPN is a type of VAN. Study break 6. What exactly is spoofing? Spoofing means A, kidding someone about their firewall. B, simulating a disaster to test the effectiveness of a disaster recovery system. C, posing as an authentic user to gain access to a computer system. D, encrypting data for security purposes. Spoofing means A, B, C, or D. And the answer is C, posing as an authentic user to gain access to a computer system. So we're coming, this is the end, actually, of chapter 2. Here you see all the references again that I mentioned at the beginning. This content is taken from the book entitled Core Concepts of Accounting Information System, 13th edition. This is Dr. Annette Moultrie. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email. Thank you.